Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome once again to Kardec Radio, 24/7, always nourishing our souls. I am Correa, and we are here every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to study together the divine laws. Why is it that it is important for us, incarnate and discarnate spirits in evolution, to study the divine laws? Because they govern our lives, they govern our destiny, they govern the universe, they represent the will of God for us. So the more we understand, dear friends, God's will for us, as well as God's wisdom and God's love for all creation, the more we align ourselves with the divine wisdom. And in doing so, we increase our chances of cultivating joy and serenity within ourselves, bringing the kingdom of God, of which our Master Jesus has spoken, to the temple of our hearts, the sacred temple of our hearts. So this is why we gather together every Tuesday evening to study and strengthen as well as nourish our souls. Tonight, we are going to continue focusing on the topic of free will that is studied by Kardec with the help of the superior spirits in the third part of the Spirits book. This is where Allan Kardec reports the results of his studies with us. So tonight we are going to study questions 845 and 846 regarding free will. Let us begin then. We welcome everyone who has joined us in any of our platforms. Please feel embraced as a child of God. And if you wish to write a comment right now when we are live or later, we will be more than happy to hear from you and respond to you. Together, we are stronger. We can always learn more when we collaborate with one another. Law of Society, as stated by Allan Kardec, also in the Spirit's book. So let us hold this current of divine light and this opportunity of instruction dear to our hearts as we strengthen one another. Hello, Veronica. Welcome, dear friend. Nice to have you here on Kardec Radio. And if you wish for us to say hello to you personally, please feel free to write a comment. If not, as we said, thank you for being part of this current of light. So let us begin, dear friends, with question 845 from the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec. Allan Kardec asks, aren't the instinctive predispositions that individuals bring at birth an obstacle to the exercise of their free will? So are our tendencies, our innate tendencies, an obstacle for us to direct our will more freely? Let us hear what the superior spirits have to teach us, dear friends. They explain. Instinctive predispositions arise from those of the spirit before its incarnation, depending on how much the spirit has evolved. These predispositions can incite an individual to reprehensible acts in which he or she will be aided by spirits who sympathize with such dispositions. However, there is no irresistible incitement if the individual has the will to resist. Remember, where there is a will, there is a way. So let us meditate upon this very wise answer together. The spirits, superior spirits, explain to us a divine truth that we are not the result of one single lifetime, that our tendencies, which we express currently, have not been developed in this lifetime alone. They have rather been developed throughout many lifetimes. And the Spirit Mentor Emmanuel in the book Thought and Life complements Allan Kardec's and the Superior Spirits teachings in this question further. In the chapter entitled The Cradle, he explains to us that all of us, prior to reincarnating, are attracted to the family circle with whom we have the most affinity. We learned recently by listening to a podcast by spiritist scholars that for a spirit to reincarnate, dear friends, the spirit must be magnetized by the vibrations of the mother and father to be. So there has to be a basis of affinity. And in the book Thought and Life, Emmanuel explains that we identify each other through our vibrations, through, in other words, the tendencies that we have created or nurtured together. So, for instance, if we reincarnated, just as an example, within a family of musicians, we are likely to have been musicians prior to this life and bring about in this life the instinctive tendency that seems innate to love instruments. And we may be fortunate to be around other musicians in our family circle. So this means that we together in previous lives cultivated the love for music, and as we reincarnate together, we nurture this tendency further. Beautiful wisdom, because nothing is lost throughout reincarnation. Reincarnation strengthens the talents that we already bring with us from previous lives. Another example, if in this life we enjoy, for instance, reading or writing poetry, we are likely to have developed this predisposition for reading and writing poetry in previous lives. Yes, because we do not become an expert in anything overnight. We need at least 10,000 hours of practice. And if something comes to us second nature, automatically it is because we have done the effort and repetition, the hard work that developing this tendency, this predisposition requires. Another example for us, dear friends, if we reincarnated, on the other hand, in a family where alcoholism prevails, that entails that in previous lives we may have abused alcohol ourselves, and now we come back within a family circle which carries the same predisposition to see if, when we are tempted with the desire to have alcohol, if we can resist it. Is it impossible to resist a predisposition? According to what we just read together, it is not. Why is it then, for instance, that in many families where alcoholism, for instance, prevails, it is hard for for us to break that cycle? Why is it that the cycle tends to repeat itself generation after generation? Is it because we are cursed? Is it because of this predisposition which we cannot combat? No, the superior spirits explain right here in question 845 to us that such is not the case. The case is that if we are morally strong, we can resist the temptation more easily. But if we have not yet developed the spiritual muscles of resignation and the virtues of patience, virtues of courage, for instance, and faith in God, we may not be able to resist. It may take us yet another lifetime to resist the tendency towards alcoholism that we may have developed throughout the centuries. So it is beautiful to see, dear friends, that while God allows for us to reap what we sow, while God grants us the opportunity to receive the response to our very own actions, we also see that it is possible for us to break vicious cycles that we may be a part of, because we are given the will and the tools to develop moral strength. Is it easy? No, it is not. How to get there then? Effort and repetition, effort and repetition, effort and repetition in the good. We are being invited tonight to become athletes in the good. If we are pursuing a talent such as a musical, learning how to play a musical instrument, we shall dedicate ourselves towards that goal, knowing that we are created to progress, knowing that God is investing in us, and knowing that we are capable as immortal spirits, but also realizing that any talent, any skill requires effort and repetition. How about if we are caught in a vicious cycle like alcoholism? We also then need effort and repetition in the opposite, in the good. We need to have the courage to seek for new friends that can support us in our healing, to believe that we do not need alcohol to fill the void we may experience inside of us, to know that we can count with the support of our mentor spirits, to know that we can look for uh, medical and psychological support, to know that we are not doomed to be caught in any vicious cycle, that when we reincarnate, God puts his divine or her divine emblem of approval to let us know that God believes in us. So let us, dear friends, not be limited by our predispositions. Let us all get to know ourselves so we can strengthen the virtues we are here to acquire in order to become our best self. And we have a model and guide, Jesus Christ. Let us count on the Doctor of all souls to guide us in the process of developing the moral virtues that we are here to develop. Oftentimes, we are placed in very challenging circumstances, specifically within our family circle, so that we can develop optimally the moral skills, moral virtues we are here to develop. For instance, Chico Xavier was abused by his godmother. His godmother used to put a fork on his belly, his stomach area. He truly was abused. But despite the circumstances, he could rise above it because his discarnate mother was able to coach him for the good, to help him develop faith and greater understanding. So, what to do, for instance, if we notice that our child or a little one whom we love has the tendency, the predisposition to lie or to hide some things from us adults? We who are in that immediate circle of support can assist them in understanding the consequence of their actions. We can be real with children because they are, in fact, immortal spirits like us. It is just their physical body that is not mature enough, so we can talk to them spirit to spirit, like Professor Euripides Bassanufo taught us. We can say, "Dear little one, if you keep lying, little one, when you say the truth and when you need help, we may not be able to support you. So would you like to be in real trouble and not receive support? Isn't it worth it to tell the truth so we can trust each other?" So, dear friends, when we study not only our predispositions but that of others, we can support one another in strengthening ourselves, especially with the little ones around us, because we are co-responsible for the virtues that they are here to develop. So, a lot of food for thought for us, right? Let us move now, dear friends, to question 846. Kardec asks, doesn't our organism have an influence on our actions in life? If so, isn't it at the expense of our free will? Good question. The mentor spirits answer. The spirit is certainly influenced by matter, which may hinder its manifestations. That is why, on worlds where bodies are less material than on earth, the faculties unfold with more freedom. However, the instrument does not give faculties to the spirit. Furthermore, in this case, it is necessary to distinguish between moral faculties and intellectual faculties. If individuals have an instinct for murder, it is assuredly their own spirit that possesses it, and which transmits it to them. It never arises due to their bodily organs. Those who suppress their thought in order to occupy themselves with matter become like an animal, and even worse, since they no longer think about being on guard against evil. It is in this that they become culpable because they act in this manner of their own free will. So Kardec and the mentor's superior spirits are brilliant in this answer because they show us that there is no longer, now that we hold, dear friends, the light of discernment, there is no longer room for self pity or for victimization. Oftentimes, many of us have our quote unquote laundry list regarding our childhood and our parents, what we wish our parents had given us, what we wish we had received, and so on and so forth. And in this way, we see ourselves as victims. Through the light of discernment brought to us by Spiritism, we learn that no one is per se to blame, not even in positions from the physical body. Neither a person outside of ourselves, nor the physical vest that we temporarily wear, is responsible for the shortcomings that we all carry inside of us, for the inner challenges that we are here to tame. Why is that? Because we have the family members we have magnetically attracted to us due to the nature of our vibrations. Also, we have the exact physical body that is the tailor made instrument for this reincarnation. For instance, in the book Missionaries of the Light, André Lewis shows to us a department of reincarnation where he studies models of future physical bodies, and he sees spirits who are about to reincarnate carrying white scrolls in their hands, mapping their physical bodies. Then André Lewis asks mentor Alexander, why is it that the reincarnating, soon to be reincarnated spirits are carrying white scrolls with them? It is because, explains Mentor Alexander, because they would like to speak with the reincarnation specialists, engineers, to make changes to their future physical vest. And André Lewis tells us many cases of bodily or physical alterations, including a gentleman who decides to have stomach issues later in life, so he doesn't have complete freedom to act as he would otherwise, and so that he doesn't fall into the same mistakes of the past. Another person who is reincarnating asks to have thyroid issues imprinted in her physical body. Why? Because she thinks that if she has a perfect physical silhouette, she may be too vain, and vanity may cause her to fall with regards to her reincarnatory goals. Another beautiful example of the wisdom and love of God that is imprinted in the physical bodies that are tailor made for us is in the book Memoirs of a Suicide. This book was psychographed by Ivone Pereira and dictated by the spirit of Camilo Castelo Branco. And there too, dear friends, they have a reincarnatory department where models or physical bodies are constructed before the reincarnatory process even begins. And we see there the case of Mário Silva. Mário Silva, in his previous existence, killed by his own bare hand his own lover out of rage. And afterwards, he took his physical life away. And so, after spending many, many years under the tutelage and care of Mother Mary in the her hospitals dedicated to suicide spirits, he decides that he wants to be reborn without hands, without either of his hands. No one imposed this on him. He selected this particular type of physical body for himself. Why? One, because he felt as though he needed to have this experience to learn to use his hands for the good in another reincarnation. And he also thought that undergoing this challenge would help him tame the impulsivity that he carried within himself as a predisposition. Camilo Castelo Branco explains to us in this beautiful book that most suicide spirits have a tendency to be rebellious and to be very impulsive. So, having a physical challenge was an opportunity for him to tame this very predisposition of his. So, we see that even in physical disabilities lie not a victim, but instead someone who has received a gift from divine wisdom. So we see tonight, dear friends, that we are being empowered by the mentor spirits of our lives and of Kardec Radio to remind us that everything in our lives is in perfect order and everything in our lives follows divine love and wisdom to a T. That even our physical body, as it is exactly, was tailor made for us out of kindness, and that we are not victims of our circumstances. Rather, we ourselves have chosen in the spiritual realm when we are completely lucid and when we remember previous lives, many of the circumstances we face now. Is it because we don't love ourselves? No. Rather, it is because we believe in our ability to become morally stronger. So we plan situations where we can practice renunciation, where we can practice faith, where we can practice courage, where we can practice doing the good to one another, especially those who are in our family circle. So, tonight we are all being invited, dear friends, to find beautiful signs of God's wisdom. Let us find in our lives and in ourselves the gifts of divine providence, knowing that where there is a will, there is a way, that we are reincarnated to direct our will to the good, and there are no victims no matter where or how we find ourselves. Let us then feel hopeful as we embrace the gifts that is in life itself, dear friends. Let us accept God's love for us exactly as it presents itself in perfect wisdom. Shall we, dear friends? So we wish all of you many beautiful blessings and a loving encounter with God in all of us. Many blessings, a beautiful evening, and we shall return next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, God willing, for another study of the divine laws. Bye, dear friends. Thank you very much.